Hey, what's going on? Duncan Lee here. I'm going to walk you through the installation of Tom's eMotion skid on the Skidoo Gen4. Okay, first things first, let's see what you get in the box. You've got two shocks, the front track shock and the rear track shock. Here's some directions that come with it. And then Tom's custom parts. So here's the throttle rods, the axle. This is the new rocker arm, which is super beefy. I'll show you that in a second here. Some hardware and the rear arm. So the 2017 eMotion skid has a new rocker arm, and as you can see, it's made out of one piece and machined billet. And man, this thing is bomber. There is no way you're gonna be able to break this. So one of the cool things about the rear arm is you can actually adjust this piece here. There's a lock nut and it's threaded, so you can screw it in or screw it out, and it'll allow you to have more or less ski lift. Let's go ahead and pull the rear skid and get to work. Okay, first I'm gonna remove the bogie wheels so I can get to the torsion springs, pull those suckers off because we don't need those anymore. Okay, now we're going to pull off the rear arm, and this whole assembly comes out as one piece. Alright, get this sucker out of here and we'll get in this eMotion skid. Okay, we're putting in the rocker arm now. You gotta make sure that those little bushings don't fall down, but if they do, you can just kind of fish them back up. Just like that. Okay, we're putting in the rear arm, and it just goes right in there. Now I always like to finger thread my bolts before I tighten them down, especially with the air. That way you don't strip them. Now let's go ahead and put in the rear shock and the throttle rods. So as you'll notice, you will have to reuse some of the bolts off of your stock skid, but you just go ahead and pull those off, the throttle rod bolts, and go ahead and pull off all the shock bolts as well. So you just want to make sure you reuse the same axles out of your stock skid. And before completing the throttle rod assembly, we need to put in the rear shock. Oh yeah. So you want to make sure that the shock has no air in it so you can decompress it so you can get everything in. It's a lot easier to work with. And then you just pump it back up before you set it. As you can see in the instructions with the photos, you want to have the e-valve chamber on the underside. That way you can still access the air valves and the rebound. Once you get the shock in, go ahead and hook up the throttle rods. This is a little bit tricky because you need a couple hands here, but not too bad. Like so. And then, before you let it go, bam! Don't forget to grease the zerks. When you go to put the skid back in, make sure you use the supplied new bolts to mount it to the rear of the skid. They're much shallower, and the new axle is a little bit shallower as well. So it's a 15 mil, and once you get your skid all lined up, just fire these in and you're done. Once you get it mounted in the skid, you can compress the shocks, make sure everything moves freely and there's no binding. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and tighten my track and set the shock pressure to where I want it, and I can go rip. When you set the shocks, you just wanna make sure there's no pressure on the shocks. So I lift the rear end of the whole sled and make sure it's all the way off the ground. So if you've never had Fox in the rear or a Tom's E-Motion skid, some good settings to start off with are 55 or 60 in the front track shock, and then 120 in the rear main shock, and 185 in the rear e-valve. The nice thing about this is that you can set it up however you like, and after you start with those basic settings, you can dial it in and make it perform exactly how you want. Okay, there you have it. That's the Tom's E-Motion skid install. Like I'm saying, this is the best suspension I've found, and you can really dial it in to ride just how you like. So now all you gotta do is get out there and ride.